Hello and welcome to this very special bonus interview of For Azeroth, which we're tagging on to episode, I think 296 is where this is going. Maybe 295. It's hard to tell. Numbers are not real. Myself, Sean, is here with Trueville and Manny as always, and we are very happy to be sitting down with the one and only, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this correct. Is it Lythi or how do I say the full?
It's just Lithi. Lithiara is kind of the long form, but it's not really used at all.
Perfect.
Someone has been banking my Twitter handle for like 12 years now, so no chance.
Really?
Yeah, it's an account that last tweeted in 2012 and can't do anything about it, you know.
How dare they? Give the name up. We demand it. Can I ask, where does Lythi come from? Where did that name generate from?
Oh god, literally just my musings of I need a name for my demon hunter. Was playing a lot of Borderlands 3, so I wanted to go with Lilith like everyone else. That was taken already. After some thinking, it turned into Lithiara, and from there on out, everyone just called me Lithi. So that's what stuck basically.
Very cool. I dig it. That is a good genesis of the name. I like that. Lythi, for any of our listeners who might not be sure, can you just give us like a brief synopsis? Like, what's the elevator pitch? Who is Lythi?
So yeah, I'm a esports caster, mostly play-by-play, but I do some hosting. I've been focusing a lot on MMOs over the last 6 years. I've done a bunch of League of Legends, Valorant, but you'll find me all over the place, really. And yeah, I love telling amazing stories. I love putting a spotlight onto the players and just have a good time and hang out.
I love it. I love it. What drew you to casting? Because you're, other than your exceptionally innate talent at it, what drew you towards it?
I don't think I would call it an innate talent, but I appreciate it. Honestly, I've always been very fascinated by just commentary from a young age onwards, especially like traditional sports, F1, soccer or football. And at some point, I had the opportunity, like, hey, wouldn't you be interested in casting German MDI for World of Warcraft? I was like, I mean, that's out of nowhere, but let's go, I'll do it. And I jumped on there, had fun, was apparently decently good at it, and stuck to it, worked my way up, and now I'm here.
I love it. That's great. That's it's an inspirational story to do something you love. You never work a day in your life, I think is what they say. So so it seems like you're having a lot of fun with it. Let's jump into why is Lythi here? Why did we bring Lythi on the show? What do we want to talk about? And that is specifically this Race to World First in Nerobar Palace that just finished up. You were selected to be one of the casters for what ended up being third place team Method. How was that? How does that happen? Do they just reach out? Do you reach out to them?
Long story short, I obviously tried to reach out to the teams ahead of the race, see if I can get a spot. I was in touch with Echo, had a little bit of a conversation. Sadly, nothing came of that, but that's all right. And I'd also talked to Method, and at the time, they already had their caster roster locked in, and I was kind of given the feedback. Hey, we sadly don't know enough of you as a Race to World First caster to have you considered in like the first choice of players. We needed a bunch of or casters. We needed a bunch of analysts, and you didn't fit the profile, so we went with some other people. That kind of the initial feedback I got, which quite honestly is fair enough. I've been out of the World First Race casting like actively for the entirety of Dragonflight after the Eversion events kind of died off and pieces died as well. Very sad about that, but hey, what can you do, right? But during the race, especially during the first week, at some point, there was a little bit of a COVID issue in the Method Studios. So a bunch of the players were sick, a bunch of the casters got sick, and at some point, I was reached out to, and they told me, hey, we could use some backup casters. We're running low on people at the moment. If you could come in, that would be awesome. And I was like, yeah, sure. Definitely can do it. Got on the train the next morning, and rest is history, really.
Is their venue close? Like, are you close enough to their venue that it's like a day commute for you, or?
It was a 6.5-hour train ride, so I mean, it's doable in a day, but definitely, like, I'm in Berlin, so like northeast Germany, and they were near Stuttgart, so southwest of Germany, so like completely cross country, really.
Gotcha. Cool. I dig that. So coming in, you're getting ready for the Race to World First. You mentioned that you had been out of it for an entire expansion. How do you get ready for that? How do you like go into a raid? How do you go into an event thinking, okay, I need to be the most prepared? What kind of stuff do you do for that?
Quite honestly, not too much extra because I was prepping for the tier and everything anyway, because I'm raiding myself. So TLDR, you look up current state of the game, what classes are good, what classes could be good, what's there in terms of insane items, like insane trinkets that make some classes really, really good, like a Spy Masters, etc. And you look at the bosses, how are the bosses designed, what are the difficulty points in this tier, which boss is going to be a wall, like which bosses are going to be important, and basically you just try to get in and go in as prepared as possible with as much knowledge as possible and kind of go off of that, because World First Race casting is a lot less comparable to traditional esports casting. You can't really do too much prep in terms of player storylines, etc. Unless, of course, you're very familiar with the team and it's a team that's been long established, which method is in constant fluctuation. And quite honestly, also, well, I got called one day before casting, so I didn't really have the time to do as much research as I would have liked to for any other event, really. But yeah, that's kind of the prep that goes into it. You want to be ready to talk about all the topics that can come up on a World First Race broadcast, which compared to other esports is very podcasty. So you talk about all kinds of things, and also all kinds of things that are not World of Warcraft. Like, I was spending a lot of time with Lorgox on the couch because we had a bunch of the morning shifts together. We just talk about bodybuilding, you know? So that's kind of where the World First Race casting is at for me.
Yeah, because it's broken up, right? Because it's like a minute of action or 2 minutes of action followed by long periods in the middle. So you have to be quite adept at the gift of gab, I think is what my mother would say.
Yeah. Just yapping for hours, as the kids nowadays say.
Yeah. Manny, it looks like you're ready to jump in there. What do you have? I don't want to hoggle the Lithi time.
Thank you. Honestly, like, hearing how much it is about the prep and how much it is about like having all of your ducks in a row before you even step out and say word one. You also said that like, hey, like, yeah, you started decent, but like, how do you improve between like casting? Like, what do you do to like craft that gift of gab, as it were?
So most of the improving part is really focused on kind of traditional esports casting, where you have some very clear-cut structures and game flows that you kind of want to represent and need to hit and need to talk about. So VOD reviews are kind of the most important thing. Watch back your casting, double check what you're saying, did you talk about the right things, etc., etc. Even more so, do it with knowledgeable peers of yours. If you have some other casters that you respect, whose opinion you respect, and then can give you good feedback, ask them to do a VOD review with you. Ask them to do some advice. Even if they don't have too much time, sometimes they'll find the time to maybe just rewatch a quick clip of you if you're a play-by-play caster, like a League of Legends team fight or like the last play of a WoW Arena match, for example, right? Get some feedback. Get any feedback you can get, because it's super, super hard to find quality feedback. Talk to your peers. But outside of that, just make sure you prep as much as you can. It's a bit hard to kind of bring across how to prep storyline and storytelling, because I've never really put too much thought into practice regarding that. It's a little bit more of I really want to talk about these stories because I think they're interesting, and kind of finding this interest to communicate what I'm passionate about. That's really all I do to approach storytelling, and everything else is literally just prepping as much information and context as I possibly can. When it comes to Race to World First casting, so a very podcasty style, have conversations with people, talk to people, and practice conversation. Not just talking about the same topic while sitting next to each other, like actually talking to your co-caster, listening to them, and not straying from that flow of conversation. Because a lot of casters, a lot of beginner casters, especially in the World First Race scene, are very focused on just talking about the topic. Sometimes tend to over focus on chat a lot as well, which is, it's valid if you want to bring in chat, but that's a broadcast decision from the team, right? Do we want to involve chat a lot? Do we not want to involve chat a lot? But if you do involve chat, make sure it's done in a way that doesn't undermine your co-caster. That's kind of the mantra I try to keep when it comes to World First Race casting. But yeah, VOD reviews, conversation. Those two are the biggest things, and then obviously the third is practice your game knowledge, learn the game, know what you're talking about.
I like that. You mentioned not undermining your co-caster. That's a great segue into this next question that I want to ask. And it's a meandering segue. I'm an old person. This is what happens. We meander. In the movie Saving Private Ryan, I told you we're going to meander. Buckle up.
Okay.
Famously took the majority of the cast, and put them through a boot camp before the movie, with the exception of Matt Damon, who they left out from the cast. So all of the people in the cast who were supposed to be going to save Matt Damon did this horrible, grueling boot camp section, and then they brought Matt Damon in at the end with the intention of making it so that the cast, who was supposed to be frustrated they were going to save this one soldier, were actually frustrated with this one person, the actor. So why am I bringing this up? In this analogy, Method had already started. They'd been going for a week. Their team had been prepped. They've been communicating. And then along comes Lythi, Private Ryan. And you're brought in. Now, hopefully, the cast of Method didn't hold that same animosity towards you that the actors did towards Matt Damon. But what does it feel like joining that team that has been working together for a period of time?
Honestly, it was quite nice. Everyone was very happy to see me. It's the WoW community, so you kind of know each other, at least from the online space already previously, right? I had never met the majority of the caster roster. I had met people like Lorgox and Kana when they were still playing for Method back in the day during the Eternal Palace race and the Nyalotha race, so we weren't complete strangers. And, you know, you say hi in the chat, talk a bit to someone like Darkmag. I've casted an event or two with Darkmag in the past, but that's full remote. So generally, the reception was very warm, was very nice. Everyone was happy to see me. Got along well with everyone, and the energy in the studio just generally was very, very high focus. I came in obviously basically on the first day of the second reset. So obviously first day was very chill, lots of splits, but you definitely tell at that point the raiders really were locked into the tier and just gaming away, not too much yelling and conversation. And also the raiders are sitting decently separate from the casters, so you don't actually interact too much outside of the like lunch and dinner breaks and maybe after the raid night. But was it generally a good pleasant energy in the studio, especially considering that I basically came in and on the exact day that everyone started to test negative from COVID. So this is kind of the big reunion of everyone back together in the same space. I think that definitely helped.
Nice.
You also came in right after, well, not quite right after, but like just after they had stayed up late to do that big push, and they're coming off of that. Like, you're somewhat separated, but what was the energy at that point?
So after that big push, obviously killing Silken Cord at 4 a.m. Just before the reset was a massive deal, was a massive kind of boost of momentum, but it also messed up the sleep schedule a bit, etc., etc. What Method did in the following week is shift the entire schedule back. So instead of starting at 8 and ending at midnight, they started at 10 a.m. and went until 2 a.m. So they definitely shifted that a little bit. That was kind of the big thing. Generally, I think they were all very hyped and excited about being able to be on Queen before the reset, just like Echo and Liquid were. So it was definitely the feeling of, okay, we're hot on their tails, really. And I think that momentum carried forward, even though I think it took like a day or 2 or 3 to really recover from that late night kind of crowbar segment of gaming, you know.
I love that. I love that they have that momentum, that they actually shifted their schedule and not try to just like go right back to business as usual. And with people coming back in, the reunion seems really good. Shifting gears a little bit, at the same time, you were also casting for the AWC, so you were doing 2 jobs at once. How did you balance that?
I don't know. Basically, when Method called me up, I told them, hey guys, I'd love to do this, but I'm booked for an event this weekend, so you need to give me the hours. I need to have the evenings free, and I need my own setup where I can cast. If you can do that, I'm game. I'll pop over and do some casting, and they were very, very lovely in kind of making that possible for myself. Also, big shout out to the tech guys at the location at the lead camp who were helping me set up and everything, and the occasional minor technical issue that is just gonna pop up if you're on the road, right? But they helped me out a lot. In terms of just managing the workload, was tough. I don't regret it because it was a good time, but in terms of the exhaustion level, I definitely regret it, and it was a terrible idea. But I gave it my all. I hope it didn't affect my casting too much, except for the Saturday, which was an utter off day, and I feel very bad about it. But it's just got what happens after a bad nights of sleep and a lot of work, you know.
Yep, that'll happen. It's this is actually great because I love to ask the difference between casting in person at a venue and casting remote. And you can literally give us that example to them both in the same week. So how does that? What are the differences there? How does that feel?
It is a massive difference. So remote casting generally works really well, but it's a lot more static. You're not able to communicate on body language, hand signs, etc. with your co-caster as much. It requires a lot of additional kind of brain power and willingness from both sides to set up and get into a position where you can kind of gesticulate to each other, read body language, etc. When you're remote casting, which in 90% of shows I've worked on so far, it's just not really feasible. In person is a lot better because you're standing next to each other, like a quick glance over, or your co-caster coming in with a hand sign and like doing a finger up or something, like gesturing to you that he wants to jump in with something. It's a lot easier. Handoffs and like quick conversational bounce backs are a lot easier, even in high intensity moments in person. It's just a lot easier and a lot more fun to cast together in a studio. But remote casting obviously has its benefits. You're at home, you're in a very comfortable space, you have all your setup, especially if you're at your own PC and have prepared accordingly. You have more information than you could ever hope to have on a caster desk in a studio at your availability, because you can have everything up and open on every single screen, while on a caster desk usually like you have your notebook, maybe an extra screen with a little bit of extra info. So you're definitely less limited on that regard when you're casting from home, at least me personally on my setup.
Yeah, I like that. You mentioned that you had cast for the German MDI in the past. Was this your first AWC and or first English casting for Blizzard? They're called English casting, yeah. That didn't like make it. That's not like a huge language faux pas.
No, I think so. I mean, I'm referring to it. I'm referring to it as the English main broadcast kind of.
Okay, cool.
But so the first time I was picked up for AWC was earlier this year. I think it was the 3rd season of Dragonflight. towards the end, they had a spot where they needed a caster for one weekend, and I've been bugging them for a couple of years by this point that I would love to be on the AWC and love to do some casting, and they finally gave me a shot, and that kind of always was my goal. It's like, I need just one day. Just give me one day and I'll convince you that you want to keep me on the broadcast, and kind of worked out. So they brought me back for the final season for a few weekends, and now they brought me back again for a couple of weekends for this season. So yeah, that's kind of how it went.
I like
Wait,
that.
did that answer the question? Sorry.
That does answer the question. Yeah. So you're like you're very familiar with the AWC. You're like an old hat at it. It's like, this is, you know what, I got this. Look, I told you I was going to do it and it was going to be awesome. I was right. I knocked your socks off. Here I am.
Kind of, yeah.
I'm just curious. Sorry, go ahead, Manny.
No. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm curious because AWC, like arena play and MDI play, is so very different. Like MDI, you can almost, it's not scripted, but you know what polls are coming up next. You sort of have a feel for it. And AWC is very much more on your feet. Now, you might not want to pick, but do you have a preference which you prefer casting for?
Oh, absolutely AWC, because it's PvP. It's a lot more high intensity, especially for me as a play-by-play caster. It's much more where my comfort zone lies at, because you basically get high action the entire time. Yes, it's very analytical, heavy play-by-play casting, but it's still play-by-play casting the entire time, while MDI, which I dearly love and I enjoy casting a whole lot, it's a lot more conversational style, a lot more analytical, almost color casting. With a few key play-by-play moments, and even those can be very scripted, because obviously the teams practice these polls, and if you cast a dungeon for the same team multiple times, you generally end up with very similar kind of situations. So that's kind of why I enjoy the AWC a lot more. Additionally, it's just a lot more focused storytelling. You have a very rich history of teams that have been around for years, of competitors that have been playing for years, and there's just a lot of opportunity to tell stories about these teams and put a focus and a spotlight on these players that have been around for so long.
Love that. That's I had never made that connection before. That MDI is more, you lean more into that color commentary, because it is just like, I've seen them do this poll 30 times this week. I like that a lot. Well, you're very good at it. Your play-by-play is incredible. Having you on the desk is a real
Thank
treat.
you.
So hopefully we get more Lithi in both AWC and MDI, if possible. I want to touch on a more serious topic, a sensitive topic. This most recent AWC, there was some backlash, some I don't want to say backlash because that makes it almost justified. There was some shitty people. I can't swear. There was some comments made that were inappropriate. Some negative comments came towards you,
yes,
as a caster, and I just wanted to know if you could talk about that for a bit, sort of what transpired or how you felt. Yeah.
Well, it's such a weird thing to talk about, because all the negative comments and the things that actually reach me are mostly okay. Let me start over. I think the obvious context here is that I am gender fluid, and I do present female a good number of times, and especially on broadcasts, I like to wear a little bit more fancy outfits because I feel comfortable in them. And obviously there are a lot of comments about the hell is that guy wearing? What is going on here? Which doesn't bother me at all. It's like, whatever. You can say whatever you want, really. Obviously, then there are a lot more kind of toxic comments towards my presentation, but also a number of comments that just target my performance and my credibility and my question the reason why I'm on the desk, you know? And The problem with a lot of these comments is that, yes, I am very new to the desk. Yes, I am not even remotely as good as legends like Super Tease, Venruki, and Zico that I have the honor of working with. And I'm not as established of a personality on the desk like someone like Aya, who is doing a fantastic job as well. So a lot of these comments about this guy is not as good, I hate his casting style, I really don't like that he's not as analytical as the other guys, this guy is getting lacking game knowledge. It's all comments where I have to admit, to an extent, there is a kernel of truth to them. But what, on the other hand, what bugs me about it is the fact that those days where I'm on the broadcast male presenting, the number of comments and flack I am getting feels like it is reduced by like 90%. And I'm online enough to I think be justified in expecting thinly veiled homophobia, transphobia presented as justified comments, so to say. But at the same time, I don't want to go out there and accuse people of hating on me just because I am different. So yeah, I think for me currently it's a difficult tightrope walk of finding the kernels of valid constructive criticism, that I need to improve my game knowledge, that I need to improve my casting. I think that's kind of the biggest two that I am also constantly working on, because I do agree. But on the other hand, it's like I don't need to. I don't owe it to anyone to engage with all the, and sorry for the choice of words, with all the bullshit that's tossed in my direction. And yeah, it's very much a learning experience. I've been casting for 6 years. I've been getting the occasional comment of, I don't like this guy. I really like this guy. You know, it holds itself a balance, but being on the AWC certainly opened the gate to a very new level of kind of backlash, criticism, whatever you want to call it, that I've received. But in equal measures, I've had so many people reach out and compliment my casting and comment on that they are very happy that I'm kind of breaking the norm that I'm presenting myself in the way I am, and that it's encouraging to them. And I had a very good conversation with a friend last night, and I think he phrased it better than I ever could. And what he said was, it sucks to see the situation happen, but it is growth that's being facilitated in the World of Warcraft community, and it is good that this has finally happened, because it has been long overdue. And I very much agree with that sentiment, and I am very happy to help facilitate this growth as much as I possibly can, even if it means that I need to put some extra mental effort into enduring kind of the growing pains, you know? I think that's a good way to phrase it.
I like that. I'm going to tie it back into Saving Private Ryan. You mentioned the experience level on the desk. If Venruki is Tom Hanks, you're certainly Matt Damon. And while you may be newer on the scene, you are just as good and will have just as bright a future as our Venruki Hanks had. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And it's also nice to see that my co-casters are kind of having my back. I was talking to Azael a bit the other week, and we did a quick little VOD review together, and basically I kind of took into that VOD review what was given to me as kind of the harshest criticism, like, okay, what's up with your game knowledge and the casting style? And the feedback I got generally was, okay, yes, there's a few points that you can work on and you should work on, but generally you're in a very good spot. And I kind of try to approach it from the angle of the people that know as much or way more than me, and the people that are my peers and doing the same job, those are the opinions that I actually need to listen to. Those are the opinions that matter. And as long as my peers, and especially the WoW Esports team, is happy with my performance and thinks I'm doing, well, at the very least, okay, I think that's the measure of kind of quality that I need to listen to instead of listening to the voice from the community, no matter how loud it is.
I like that. I want to be cognizant of your time, Lithi, and I'm completely hogging this entire interview. So, Manny, I apologize, but I want to get one last question in. What can we do to help improve the space? How can we help? I don't want to say fight this energy, because I mean, you won't say it, but I'll say it. Those people that make those comments aren't making those comments because they give a shit about your casting ability. They're saying it because for the exact reasons that we think they're saying it, because they're garbage people. So how do we improve the space so that it's better for everyone?
Just be more accepting. Be kind to each other, to everyone, really, especially those people that are brave enough to be themselves on a broadcast, even if they are different. I think that's the biggest thing. If you don't look at the broadcast and you don't really hear a difference in anything, maybe it's not worth commenting on it, even if the person actually looks different once you open your eyes again. Other than that, if you want to criticize and you're very, it's very valid to want to criticize, keep it constructive. Don't be rude about it. You can definitely tell a caster what you think, even if the verdict is, I don't like your casting. Say why. I don't like your casting because you don't understand the game enough. I'd love for you to bring in more like valid analytical points during your casting. That's good feedback. That's something the caster can work with, and if it fits into your style, it can be integrated, and the broadcast is going to go better. Because as much as some people out there seem to hate it, queer people and diverse people and people of all colors and identities, they're around. They're everywhere. And they're gonna stay. You're not gonna get rid of them by being a bigot. So just give up on it and chill. Just be chill.
I like that. That could be the tagline for the episode. Just be chill. Okay, Manny, I'm done. I'm done hogging all the questions. I'm sorry. It's tough. It's so fun talking to Lithi.
Hey, I got time all day. You can ask me all the questions you want.
No, this has been great. I'm really glad that we got to have this time and talk about this sort of thing. I really do think that like the people who have their bad faith arguments that are going to suddenly become so critical for particular reasons, it's night and day. Watching that broadcast, you were talking, going back and forth, and it wasn't until the match was over and you appeared on screen that suddenly people had stuff to say, and that's just so telling, so absolutely telling. Like for you to say, like, yeah, it's 90% different when you're presenting male versus when you're presenting female. It like I didn't even need that confirmation. Like it was like already transparent where that was happening. But what I love is really the energy that you bring. How do you, like, just before we let you go, like, how do you keep up that energy over the long cast, like through an MDI, through the AWC, they are rotating people, but like, how do you keep up that energy going through all of that?
I mean, in the physical sense, literally make sure I slept enough, that I'm awake, which is some days it's easier, some days it's harder because it's not my full-time job, and sometimes I come off work and straight into a broadcast. But yeah, enough food, enough sleep, enough energy, get a snack, get the blood sugar up every now and then. But in terms of just motivation, it's literally just I'm a massive fan of the games I cast. I rarely ever pick up a broadcast where I'm not at least enjoying the game. So I try to just reflect that. I love WoW Arena, I love WoW PvP, and I'm a massive fan. Even if I'm not casting, I'm sitting in front of my screen and cheering for the move, even if they get knocked out in the second round lower bracket every now and then, you know? But it's just really, I just try to convey the love and passion I have for the game on broadcast, and sometimes that works with a lot of game knowledge, sometimes it doesn't, but generally I just try to bring the energy level, because as long as that is on point, I want to say, that's like 50 to 60% of a good broadcast. If your caster has a lot of fun and is very passionate about it, it automatically sounds way better, as if you have someone talking about the game that knows everything, but is not passionate about commentating for it, you know?
I always love that energy when you're casting, and I've watched
Thank you.
games where I don't even know about the game, and then later being like, you know what, I am going to pick up Valorant and see what's going on in that game because of things. So I really appreciate that.
I always approach it from the angle of, if you don't know what's going on, you have a team on the left side, you have a team on the right side, just watch the health bars and cheer for the team you want to cheer for. If their health bar goes down, that's bad. If the other team's health bar goes down, that's good. And I think that's a good starting point. And from there on out, you can just learn the game while watching. Because I think we as a caster team, and especially the other three guys and I are doing a solid job of breaking down and kind of presenting what is going on in a more digestible fashion. Of course, it's fast paced, but the more you watch, the more you learn.
So, any upcoming events where we can catch you? Are you allowed to announce anything at this point?
Well, obviously, you can catch me on the AWC. Broadcast once again starts with Top 8 EU this Friday. It's 7 p.m. CEST and I think 10 a.m. Pacific. I think that's roughly around the correct timestamps on the official Warcraft channels on Twitch and YouTube. So that's kind of the biggest things that are going on, and anything for the rest of the year. Hey, if you want to hire me, I'm available.
Beautiful. So thank you so much. Any last thing that you want to say before we let you go?
Not really. Thanks so much for having me, for letting me talk about casting, because I enjoy that almost as much as I do casting, and you guys do a fantastic job, so I'm very excited to be on the show here. You can follow me on Twitter at Lithiara. You find me on Twitch, just Lithi on there, or Blue Sky, which is also just Lithi, in case you've abandoned the hell site by now. And other than that, yeah, maybe on your local WoW Esports broadcast or Final Fantasy or whatever else is out.
All right, I think that's it, Manny. Do you want to? I don't know. I don't end our shows ever, so I don't know how this ends. May all your hits be crits.
You know how this ends. Let's hear the Sean ending the show.
Yeah,
you know how it goes. Go ahead.
Right. In a world where you can be oh no, it's a different show. That's it for us for Azeroth with this special episode interview with Lithi. We're so thankful for you listening to this episode, and may all your hits be crits.